So welcome back. Paint. We have paint on the B17 at last. All this faffing around with the huge amount of masking has all been done. And so for this, this is May Ideal, isn't it? That's right. It's the 324th Bomb Squadron, 91st Bomb Group, 8th Air Force unit that was based at RAF Bassingbourn in Cambridgeshire. That's going to be the subject of this build, as you can see here from the instruction sheet. It just, for me, was a bit of a no-brainer. I mean, it's got everything, I think, this scheme. Not only is it a sort of a good, I think, a nice testimony and sort of, was a little bit of a memorial, I guess, to these guys who flew from this squadron. But from a modelling perspective, it's got lots, because you've got the natural metal overall finish, you've got nice areas of red, you've got the replacement rudder, which is really neat. That's we can see that there. That's in olive drab, which is really useful. Again, provides a little bit of extra colour. And of course, you've also got the olive drab inner panels on the engines, and of course the anti-glare panel in front of the pilot position. So lots of interest in that particular scheme. I think a decent red for this, because we haven't yet done any of the weathering, and when we do some of the weathering and varnishes and so on for decals and bits and pieces, the red is going to darken up a little bit. So a good base colour for that, I think, is straight Tamiya XF7 flat red, which is a really good base colour. Normally I would undercoat that with flat white, but because we've got this really light bluey grey plastic, which has been buffed and prepared and all the rest of it, that's perfectly good enough in its own right to act as a good base for the red, because red is a particularly translucent colour, just like yellow is. So whenever I'm spraying red or yellow, I always undercoat with flat white. But as I said, we've got the same effect here by using the plastic. So the red has gone straight on. I've just thinned it, classic sort of 50-50 mix, and or sort of 60-40 mix in favour of paint, and on it's gone. So that all happened about 3 or 4 hours ago, and it's all dried nice and nice and well. And so one of the things I like to do at this stage before moving on is starting to begin the weathering process and to kind of create the ultimate, the ultimate sort of concluding effect that will be after once you've finished all the processes. And the first stage of this is to just buff the and to sort of work the surface of the painted areas with a toothbrush. So I have my old sturdy toothbrush here, which is used for the very purpose. And literally all that you do is just gently work the surface. Hopefully that's in focus. Just work the surface in line with the airstream, sort of forwards to back. Don't need to go mad on it, but just a bit here. And what that does is it just, well, for a start, it smooths out the surface, which is always a good thing. We're going to be applying varnish ultimately to this later on. And already what I'm quite pleased to see, I don't know whether you can pick that up in the light there, is some of that rivet detailing is just beginning to come through, which is good, because that just provides, again, a little bit of additional interest. So that's just a little technique that I have that begins the process of kind of weathering, beginning to weather the surface a little bit. For me, mostly I tend to do post weathering rather than do a lot of pre-shading and all the rest of it. Certainly you could do that, but I think because we're going to be going with all-clad lacquers, then I'm not really going to be fussed too much about sort of pre-shading per se, but we'll get onto all that sort of stuff when we get to that stage of the process. So for me, it's deal with all the other painted areas first, and once these are prepared, then I'll mask them off, and then we can come back and then start to get to grips with the whole kind of metallic silver finish. So that's the trick, really, is to get all the odds and sod colours out of the way first, and then, as I said, we can come back and get on with the metal stuff. So there we are. That's another little update for you on the B-17.